Hey guys, this is Lindsay from Gritness. I wanted to share some thoughts that I had on an article I came across recently on how male coaches should coach female players. I have to be honest, it was a bit of a struggle for me to read through the article. I think it had many valid points, but I struggle with the generalization. All male coaches are not created the same. All female players are not created the same. And I think we need to move away from this generalization and idea that females need something specific from males. We need something specific from everybody. And we need different things because we're different people. So I think we really need to move from these gender identities into a more person-centered approach. A male coach and a female player can have a great relationship because I had that. And I know many players across the country at different levels have had that. Have I had some horrible experiences? Absolutely. I've had those experiences both with males and females, and I've had positive relationships and experiences with both males and females. I think it really comes down to it being person-centered and about the relationship. I think we all know that we all respond best to people that we have a stronger relationship to. So I just wanted to preface by saying I'm not for or against females coaching females. I think there's a lot of benefit to that because we can relate to each other often in ways not that men can't, but that men need to be taught, versus for female to female sometimes it can be a more natural approach. But every female is different. So for myself, I'm far more masculine and competitive than many of my counterparts. I don't thrive on the social connection piece, but I know many females who do. Again, why we need to be more person-centered. If I got a coach that was focused on social connections, that would not be my best soccer. It just wouldn't work for me. So I think that we need to move away from this idea of gender roles within sport even, and just trying to understand what is each person's need. How does each person define respect even? Because that was one main theme throughout the article was, teaching males how to respect female players. Well, what is respect? For me, a female could be very different for another female. I think we need to define, each of us as players, how do we want to be respected? What do we understand that respect is? I also want to say that abuse is not gender specific. There are abusive men coaches and there are abusive women coaches. So I just want to point out that abuse is not specific to a particular gender. I think the more important piece of this conversation is on psychoeducating our players to understand what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and clearly defining specific scenarios where they can understand, question, or converse about, hey, this made me feel uncomfortable. What do you think about that? So I think that we need to have more psychoeducation with very specific examples of this would be inappropriate. This is not inappropriate. It might have been harsh, but it wasn't inappropriate and it wasn't abusive. I don't want to negate that these things happen. They do. And I think the more we psychoeducate our players, the more well-equipped they are to be able to get in front of these situations before they become really catastrophic and before it happens to other players as well. So how do we do better? I think that's the best part of the article, is that it opens up a conversation for us to talk about how we can do better. Better for our players, better for our coaches, better for the sport. I think we open it up by clearly defining for each player, not gender specific, what they believe respect is and how they want to be respected. I think we clearly define what abusive behavior looks like by giving specific scenarios, and also designating a person or persons that players can go to that isn't the coach where they can have conversations about things that might be uncomfortable to have with your coach and or parent. So I think that would be a good safety plan. But what we're really talking about is more psychoeducation, educating all of our coaches about the developmental stages that each player goes through as they're getting older. Their needs are going to change, their brains are going to change, and that was something that the article did talk about, that female brains are different. They are definitely different, and they do need different things at different stages. I think it's helpful for us to understand exactly what things are needed and how their brains are changing. That's true though for a male too, that their brains are different and they change at different times as well. And so they might need some different things at different times also. So I really think that this is a conversation about continuing to psychoeducate and help coaches understand how to interact with and build relationships with each player. Building the relationship is a key component to building success within that player. Every player is going to work harder for you when they have a better relationship with you. And those relationships are obviously built upon understanding how that person wants to be respected, what makes them feel comfortable and uncomfortable, and really redefining success, moving away from result-oriented data, scoring and winning, and helping players redefine what success. Those are my thoughts. They may not be the right ones, and I may catch a little heat for not being female to female, but I am just trying to support people and not any specific gender. And I think that's where it was a struggle for me with this article, like I said at the beginning, because it created some generalizations I think are a little bit unfair for some of the men coaches who are doing such a great job with some of our young women. And, I would love to see more females come into the industry. That's a totally different conversation that I think could and should be had about why females don't come into this industry. And that might be for another day. So these are my thoughts. I invite you to share yours, and hopefully you received some of mine.